SoCal News at 4 o'clock. We're coming on the air to tell you about a pursuit, first by the sheriffs, now by the Los Angeles Police Department in Koreatown. This is a sports car we're looking at. Desmond Shaw live in SkyCal, Des. Des in SkyCal.
Oh, yeah, boy,
this.
Yes, I got you. This is really, really scary, Mike, right now as we get into rush hour here in very busy Koreatown. Look at these speeds, 60 miles an hour with a very capable car, an allegedly stolen BMW. I think, actually, now we might be hearing armed robbery on this. And I believe this is a 6 Series BMW. These are definitely capable cars. You see the pedestrians all over the place as they make the northbound turn right now. So like you said, Mike, this was LA County Sheriff's deputies in South LA, but we made it up to Koreatown in record time, and LAPD took this one over. They actually have 2 helicopters on this one right now because the suspect is driving so maniacally right now. They need both of those helicopters. It took us some time just to catch up with this pursuit. 60 miles an hour. We've already had a lot of close calls with cyclists and some pedestrians in different areas as we're now at 5th and Gramercy. Oh, no! No,
my gosh.
Oh, awful crash. Oh, my goodness. Horrible, horrible crash. It seemed inevitable.
And still out on foot.
Now getting out and running. Out on foot. It looks like this is going to be the passenger that got out and ran. Now underneath a awning here. Let's put the map tracker up again at 5th and Van Ness. That was a very, very serious crash. As the person is now underneath the awning, we'll try to stick with this one for a little bit. But running back here. Yep, down in here. Unfortunately, under the cover of the awning right now. But I know LAPD, it sounds like they are aware of this suspect. I want to check on possible innocent people in that crash. That was a very, very severe crash. But we also kind of want to check on this suspect. So I think we'll hold this shot here for a second.
For a second. And Des, we're joined by Juan Fernandez here. He's with me at the anchor desk now. That was an incredibly violent crash, as you mentioned. Now we've got LAPD officers that are swarming the building here. That gate, unfortunately, closed for them, though, that it was open for the suspect one. But that guy came through that intersection at 5th and Van Ness there, and it just absolutely creamed that car.
The car spun out.
And hit a building, an apartment building after that.
And the car started to smoke not long after it stopped, and that one passenger took off. What I'm curious about is whether or not the driver is trapped inside that car. Just the way that car landed, it was either next to a power pole or a tree. I'm not sure if he could get out from the driver's side door. What are we looking at here, Des, Mike?
That's the suspect car. And Des, I had originally kind of thought maybe the driver jumped out of the passenger side, but oh no, there's the driver.
Yeah.
Oh, they're pulling him out.
They might have been trapped at one point, and they're pulling him out right now. I don't even think they care if this person's injured or not.
And the car's
after that insane driving. They just yanked him right out of the car. I mean, they need to get the suspect out one way or another because this thing might catch fire. That was such a violent collision. You saw there as we were having trouble even keeping the shot centered because they were going so fast. I think over 60 miles an hour in that crash. So we believe that is the driver that they just took into custody. I mean, very lucky that they're in a modern sports car with a lot of safety features after a crash like that, or this person could have easily lost their life in that crash. So here is the innocent vehicle that was involved, the innocent people in there. Again, a newer car, so let's hope that those safety features protected them. But we have a pole that got knocked down. I think there might have been,
they clipped
that tree. There's another, street sign, another pole right there. I mean, this was just an insanely violent collision here in Mid-City, guys.
And luckily, nobody on the sidewalk either, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, and he was blown through those stoplights and signs. There was people in the crosswalks that they almost hit. And then you're lucky, and this may be the victim of the innocent car there, but they were lucky that where they hit this car was kind of in the back. So it didn't, straight T-bone. They spun around and they hit the building right there. And, it doesn't look like there's any damage to the building. But look, you've got that traffic signal that's down, the street light that's down. There's the walk signal, the little box right there for the walk signal. Des, I don't know if we want to go back now that we know that the person in that white car looks to be okay, if they're still looking for that passenger over the apartment building.
Let's we'll reposition over here to the apartment building.
The officers in the parking lot.
Oh, okay. They're saying all 3 in custody now. We just heard from the airship. So there was a female that was dropped off earlier, and we did hear something about that. That might have been in the Koreatown area just before we got overhead. So they got that person that was probably in the very small back seat, and now the passenger. We just heard that they took him into custody, although they still have their weapons drawn. So as we come back around, let's see I think that maybe they're probably going to have him on the ground right here.
What is that hand signal there that the middle officer is
approach.
doing? Can you tell her?
They're just calling to move in.
Oh, okay.
So I think they have the person cornered, probably underneath the awning here. They probably have them down, spread out on their stomach. We'll see if we can see them underneath the covered parking here. But well, you know, they're making an approach. Let's just see what happens here in the next couple of minutes. But we believe, you know, 2 out of 3 in custody for sure.
Well, glad to see that the woman who was in that car, the white car, looks to be okay. But I can only imagine the shock to her. Everything happened so fast, the impact, the spin out, and so much damage caused in such a little time there. We saw several street lights or street signs go down, and this car wedged. It's basically stopped by a palm tree that was there on the sidewalk. The passenger took off running, and we saw just moments ago police officers yank the driver out by his feet. I'm not sure if he was injured or not, but it was clear, Mike, that he didn't want to at least get out of the car. It didn't look like he was going to make it easy.
Yeah, and you know, I'm playing back, you know, Desmond's video. That crash, according to our speedometer, happened at 80 miles an hour.
Wow.
Came through the intersection at 5th and Wilton at 80 miles an hour and sideswiped that white SUV. And then somehow the passenger still gets out and runs.
Wow.
Thankfully, it appears that the person in the white car is okay. Right, but as you see, the LAPD officers now, we think, still looking for that passenger. We had heard some radio traffic about potentially people being in custody. We know at least the driver was in custody, and the female passenger that they had dropped off also in custody. But this is the last place we saw that male passenger run to. So again, Des mentioned that there were 2 helicopters overhead. This is a person, that car was allegedly stolen, the BMW was. And then once LAPD took over, we had also started hearing them say that they were wanted for armed robbery. We heard mention of a rifle. So a lot going on with these suspects. I also wanted to kind of point out that LAPD generally, I don't say never, but generally doesn't take over chases from other agencies. That was what kind of got a little bit of a red flag for me as well, was that once this got into LAPD's area, LAPD said, yeah, sure, we'll take it. That's not terribly, you know, usually the thing with them. So we'll see here, though. This is the last place I think Des saw him. So we'll see if they've got eyes on him and they're just waiting to take him into custody. Unfortunately, these apartment buildings are a little bit difficult. I think we have some replay, though, Juan and Des, of the crash here. Amy Johnson joining us now as well. This is when we came through right here. Watch this, about 80 miles an hour according to our speedometer, and just absolutely T-bones. You see that car spin out, hit the apartment building, and then the suspect gets out and runs.
And rips off the back bumper of the car, too.
Yeah, and the one just jumps out so fast. And, you know, when they were looking in that parking lot as well, you could see them getting on the ground, the officers looking under the cars, looking in those trash bins, and really looking for any possible place that someone could be hiding. It is remarkable, though, that that person in the white car was not hurt more seriously.
Yeah, I am listening. They are requesting an ambulance for her at this point. And obviously so, just to, at minimum, check her out. I mean, that was such a violent collision.
And sometimes, you know, you're in shock and you don't realize the pain, and, you know, it takes a couple of hours before it can really set in that you are, in fact, hurting.
And again, very lucky that this car hit the back side of her white car there. It spun it out, ripped the back bumper out in the impact. But it looks like she was able to get out on her own, and we saw her sitting there leaned up against either a palm tree or some sort of post. And as Mike Rogers now telling us on the desk here that they've asked for fire rescue units to come and check this woman out, make sure she's okay, possibly transfer her to the hospital just in case she has injuries that she may not be aware about just yet. But Mike, what's interesting is earlier on you were saying that all suspects are in custody, but now they're looking for somebody?
Yeah, so there was, it sounds like there were 3 people in the car in total. A woman was taken into custody before.
She was dropped off.
Dropped off and eventually taken into custody. And then the driver rather, who was unable to get out, was pulled out by officers. We watched that. Now, the third person, there was some radio chatter about all 3 being taken into custody, but that certainly doesn't appear to be the stance that those officers were taking. Now, and again, there were 2 helicopters over there. So there was a sheriff's department helicopter and an LAPD helicopter. So some wires may have gotten crossed or something like that. But, you know, based on Desmond's last picture from that apartment building, it looks like they're still looking for somebody. Des, are you hearing anything else?
You know, we've just been moving around up here in the air, and it sounds like what the airship was telling us is that they had all 3 people in custody, and they were just kind of doing a final sweep to make sure there was nobody else involved. So we haven't seen that person being taken out in handcuffs yet, though. But that is what we heard up here from the 2 law enforcement helicopters over over the scene. So, boy, I just watched the replay of that crash. I mean, that vehicle spun around several times right here and then right up against this building. I mean, it was going so fast it could have, just gone a little bit farther and maybe done some serious damage to this apartment building. That was one of the most violent collisions we have ever seen.
Yeah.
That there was no loss of life in this is truly a miracle.
Yeah.
Especially if there would have been anybody out here walking around. Just an insanely violent crash. That poor woman probably really, really shaken up. And just a few inches sooner, like you said, Mike, if they would have T-boned this car, could have been a totally different story for everyone involved, not just for the innocent people, but for the suspects in that car as well. So just a really insane situation here. In the Mid-City area as we get ready to enter rush hour. The way that person was driving, it just seemed inevitable, sadly, that it was going to end this way.
Yeah. And, you notice different things. Every time I see the replay, I notice different things. That car also hit that white car that's parked there, and that white car kind of tapped the red car just in front of it, and you can see there's some back bumper damage to that white car parked right there, right? This is Wilton and what?
5th.
Wilton and 5th.
In the
All right.
Koreatown area.
Yeah, and Desmond giving us, Desmond, what were you showing us there when you were magnifying the area?
Well, we just heard that there may be guns in the vehicle, that they saw those. So I was just saying if by chance, if we could use the magnifying glass to see that. Might be a little bit too small to see, but you can see the side curtain airbags that all deployed inside of that car. And again, these modern cars have a lot of safety features for this reason. If anyone would have been driving a vehicle that was more than 10 years old, again, that this might have just ended in such a even worse fashion than it already did, as we're zooming in there on the victim's vehicle here. Not sure what make that. Might be a Mazda, maybe a Mazda SUV. But wow, what an insane collision! I mean, it shook me up as well. I gotta admit.
And we always talk about it during these pursuits, Desmond, that people are just driving along, minding their own business, completely unaware that a pursuit is taking place and that someone is just barreling through an intersection. And here is a perfect example of just how dangerous it can be for all of those folks that are out there on the road. I mean, they're taking their lives in their own hands. These people that lead officers on a pursuit. But it's the innocent people that are just minding their own business that, become victims in cases like this.
Absolutely. And, I got to be honest, after doing this job for so many years, even when I have a green light, even if it's been green for 10 seconds and I'm going through, I glance left and I glance right because we cover these kinds of things, and you just never know when someone that's a total lunatic like this, risking everyone's life, is just going to blast through a red light at 70 or 80 miles an hour. So that is definitely my recommendation to anyone driving in LA, not to be overly dramatic, but I mean, it's just such an insane situation, and, on such a small street as well. I mean, just super, super scary how crazy it can be. And, I have to mention again that these were also robbery suspects. And I feel like we've been seeing this kind of driving, especially with robbery suspects lately. And it's if they're making a calculated decision that they can just drive super, super crazy and take these risks, and maybe the police will back off, because we have been seeing that in recent years. And it puts the police in such a difficult situation. Do we let a robbery suspect get away to potentially, do another violent robbery, or do we endanger the public potentially by pursuing them? Such a difficult situation for the police as we see the ambulance now arriving. It looked like we'll see who they go to first. The suspect may have been in the worst shape, the driver of that vehicle, because we see the innocent person over here being evaluated, and they'll evaluate her as well. But she seems to be okay. We're not sure about the condition of the driver of the allegedly stolen vehicle and robbery suspect.
Well, we are going to continue monitoring this pursuit crash here at Wilton and 5th in Koreatown, and we'll be bringing you the very latest coming up very shortly on KCAL News at 4 o'clock. For Desmond Shaw, Mike Rogers on the desk, and Amy Johnson, I'm Juan Fernandez. We'll send you back to regular programming now.